Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are doing something a little bit different, something I think is remarkably strategic. We have this stack of sources that, if you just glance at them, they seem incredibly mundane. We're talking about 50 short, simple sentences.
Right, like things you'd find in a language course.
Exactly. They were actually collected as a language learning tool. But when you stack them all together, a really clear pattern starts to emerge.
Yeah, it really does.
What we actually have here is a surprisingly detailed 50-point blueprint for an organized, focused, and truly optimal workday.
It's almost like an accidental masterclass in behavioral architecture. Our mission today is basically to strip away that simple language and expose the deep professional insight that's, embedded within these daily phrases.
Okay, so we're reverse engineering productivity from everyday habits.
Precisely. We are treating this 50-point list of habits as a complete system. A system for self-control, for time management, and, crucially, for energy preservation. For you, the learner, this isn't just about ticking boxes to be more productive. It's about creating the mental space and the consistency you need to really absorb and apply new knowledge effectively.
I like that. So the mission is to dissect the why behind these seemingly simple actions. Things like, from the precise moment you log in until you formally log out at the end of the day. And to understand exactly how these small, repeatable, conscious decisions can lead to, major control over your professional environment. It's like we're fighting back against information overload by introducing supreme structure.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, let's unpack this blueprint step by step. Let's start with the beginning, the psychological leap into the workday.
Right. So this first phase, what we're calling the morning launch, is all about the transition.
The transition from not working to working.
Exactly. The sources teach us that highly effective people don't just, drift into their workday. They execute a structured switch, both psychologically and physically. The goal here is to establish control right from the get-go.
You want to prevent the tasks of the day before or personal distractions from leaking into that critical first hour.
That's the key. You're building a firewall.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics. The very first action mentioned is both definitive and digital. The first habit is, I log into my computer when I arrive. It sounds so basic.
It does, but it's not. The source really emphasizes this as the very first signal. It's the moment that the preparation for tasks has officially begun.
So it's more than just turning on a machine.
Oh, absolutely. It acts as a digital demarcation line. Just think about the psychological difference for a second.
Okay.
You could check work notifications on your personal phone while you're walking to your desk. We all do it.
Guilty.
Right. But compare that to sitting down, maybe taking a deep breath, and then formally logging into the machine. When you log in, you are confirming a boundary.
You're saying, I am now at work.
You're saying, I am ready to engage with my tools, and my professional attention is now claimed. This single act prevents what we call intentional fragmentation before the day even really begins.
Attentional fragmentation. I like that term.
It's a real problem. If you start with your phone, you expose yourself to personal texts, news headlines, social media, all before that protective firewall of your intention is fully up.
So logging in is like closing the door and flipping the on switch for your professional brain.
That's the perfect analogy.
Okay, so following that digital commitment, we have something more personal, a sensory anchor. I make a fresh cup of coffee before starting. Is this really just about the caffeine? Or is there something deeper going on here?
It is profoundly psychological. It extends so much further than just the physiological kick from the caffeine.
I always suspected that.
This ritual, it serves as a critical bridge. It's a moment of autonomous, low-stakes task execution. Research shows that consistent routines, especially sensory ones,
like the smell of coffee, the sound of the machine.
Exactly. Those things create powerful cognitive momentum. While the water is boiling or the machine is whirring, your brain is actually transitioning. It's moving from that diffuse, relaxed state of home life to the focused, analytic state you need for work.
So you're doing something that doesn't require a lot of brain power, which lets the rest of your brain sort of warm up.
Precisely. You're letting the high-level cognitive machinery warm up slowly. The common thread across high achievers isn't always what they do, but the sheer consistency of the small, repeatable routine that anchors their shift into focus. It's a moment of mindful transition before you just plunge into the cognitive chaos of your inbox.
Right, before the day attacks you. And once that mental machinery is warm, the blueprint forces a vital link. a link between the present and the past. I usually review yesterday's notes. Why is this a mandatory habit? Why not just dive into the most urgent-looking email?
Because that's a trap. This habit is pure efficiency, and it's realized by minimizing the cost of context switching.
Okay, that mental gear shifting we talked about.
Yes. The most expensive mental resource we use every morning is the time we spend just trying to remember where we left off.
I feel that. It can take me 15 minutes just to figure out what I was doing.
It can take 20 minutes, easily. If you finished a complex report at 5 p.m. yesterday, and you walk in this morning and immediately open some new unrelated project, you've just wasted all that time trying to reestablish the mental framework of the report you should be finishing.
So reviewing notes is like a self-guided knowledge transfer.
It's exactly that. You're bringing the context, the half-finished thoughts, the critical variables from yesterday directly into today's focus. It creates a seamless flow. It ensures the end of one workday and the start of the next operate as one continuous, efficient sprint.
And for you, the learner, that's crucial. It solidifies the retention of what you learned yesterday, making sure that learning isn't fractured by the overnight break.
Absolutely. You're not starting from zero every morning.
Okay, that makes total sense. So once the mind is focused and connected to the previous day's work, the strategy shifts to organizational awareness. And the blueprint immediately jumps to a shared reality. I check the team calendar every morning. What's the strategic function here?
This moves organization from being a siloed personal thing to a collaborative requirement.
Because your time isn't really your own.
In the modern workplace, it's rarely 100% your own. If you're part of any kind of team, failing to check the calendar is basically failing to participate in the shared timeline, this quick scan. It's a proactive identification of potential landmines.
Landmines, okay. Like what?
Well, did a critical meeting get moved to an earlier time? Is your boss suddenly out of the office? Is there an unexpected deadline or a major team announcement you missed? It takes less than 60 seconds.
A minute.
1 minute. But it calibrates your entire daily time budget. It prevents you from, say, scheduling a 2-hour block of deep focus time only to realize 10 minutes in that you were supposed to be in a mandatory meeting.
Right. So that upfront investment prevents massive disruption later in the day.
Totally.
This calendar check then sets the stage for communication triage. The source mandates I answer urgent emails first. And the rule is to immediately reply to messages needing a quick response before starting any major task. How do we define urgent here without getting sucked into the inbox vortex?
That is the core challenge, isn't it? And the blueprint handles it, I think, brilliantly by creating layers.
Layers, okay.
The initial urgent rule is strictly for high-impact communication. Things that are blocking someone else's work or things that require a fast, definitive yes or no response.
So you're unblocking your team.
You're being a good organizational citizen. You clear the debris that prevents the rest of the team from moving forward. The key here, though, is strict time boxing. You dedicate 5, maybe 10 minutes. You identify the critical 3 emails, you answer them, and you stop.
You have to resist the temptation to just keep scrolling.
You have to. You resist diving into the low-stakes, high-volume stuff that comes later.
Right. Because the blueprint doesn't stop there. It then connects this immediate action to a larger goal. The habit of, I respond to all emails by noon. Why is the specificity of noon so critical here? Why not just sometime this afternoon?
Because the specificity of noon transforms a vague desire into an executable task. It's a powerful application of what's called Parkinson's law.
Which is?
Work expands to fill the time available for its completion.
Ah, right. So if you give yourself all day, it'll take all day.
Exactly. By setting a strict time-bound goal for clearing the bulk of your inbox by lunchtime, you force yourself to be efficient. If you just tell yourself, oh, I'll do emails sometime this afternoon, it becomes this low-grade distraction, the task you were always about to do.
It just hangs over your head.
It hangs over your head. By consolidating your email response into 2 distinct high-focus windows, that immediate triage in the morning and the full clear-out by lunch, you establish an impenetrable boundary. You're telling your communications, I will address you at these specified times, rather than letting the inbox chime dictate the rhythm of your day.
Which maximizes focus for the afternoon when, let's be honest, cognitive energy often takes a nosedive.
Precisely.
That makes perfect sense. But before jumping into the specific tasks from those emails, the blueprint forces one more crucial moment of strategic oversight. I review goals for the week. This means looking at the things you intended to finish by Friday to see your current progress. What happens if you skip this step?
Well, if you skip this step, I can almost guarantee you will spend the entire week being busy without being effective.
Ouch. the busy trap again.
It's so easy to fall into. Most people jump from yesterday's tasks directly into today's most immediate demands, the loudest email, the closest deadline. Reviewing the weekly goals forces you to look up at the horizon.
See the big picture.
It demands a moment of metacognition. You have to ask yourself, are the tasks I'm about to execute today actually serving the strategic objectives for the week? Or am I just satisfying administrative minutia? For the learner, this is the differentiator. You have to ensure that the specific knowledge you gain or apply today is actually moving the needle on a larger project, that it's contributing to mastery, not just satisfying 5 low-value requests.
So this habit prevents the entire week from being unconsciously hijacked by tasks that don't really matter to your bigger professional goals.
Exactly. It's your strategic compass for the day. So as we transition into the midday, the blueprint shifts gears. It moves from that strategic planning of the morning to the intense execution and defense of your mental resources. This whole section is about sustained output.
Right, and here's where the proactive defense really begins. The first major habit is, I block time for deep work. This is the intentional act of planning a part of the day with 0 meetings, 0 talking, specifically for writing or thinking or finishing important tasks without distraction.
Blocking time for deep work, and by that we mean the high-value, complex cognitive effort that actually moves your expertise forward. It's an operational imperative. It is not a luxury.
You have to see it that way.
You have to. We must understand that our time is not a passive resource. It has to be actively defended. By blocking that time on your calendar, you treat it like an immovable external meeting.
You're telling your colleagues, and maybe more importantly, you're telling your own brain, that this time is sacred for concentration.
Yes. Studies on knowledge work confirm this again and again. If you do not actively schedule deep work, shallow work, the emails, the quick calls, the ad hoc meetings, it will automatically consume 100% of your available time.
And you'll end the day feeling busy, but like you accomplished nothing important.
Exactly. You'll feel busy but unproductive. This habit ensures the time you need for synthesis and for knowledge application is actually secured.
But blocking the time is only half the battle, right? We also need to defend it digitally. The blueprint includes 2 specific digital defense strategies. I turn off notifications during meetings, and then the repeated habit of I mute my phone during focus time. What is the actual cognitive tax of not doing this?
The tax is enormous, and it's surprisingly easy to calculate. This is where the 23-minute rule comes into play.
The 23-minute rule? Okay, what's that?
Research has shown pretty definitively that once you are substantially interrupted, and that means your attention shifts entirely, usually because of a sound or a vibration from your phone, it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to return to the state of deep focus you had before the interruption.
23 minutes for one notification.
23 minutes. So think about that. If you get 3 non-critical notifications during a 1-hour deep work block, you haven't just lost the 30 seconds it took to glance at your phone.
You've lost nearly an hour of recovery time just getting back into the zone.
You've lost the entire hour. Muting your phone is not just polite, it is preventative maintenance for your most valuable asset, your sustained attention. In a meeting, muting is a commitment to effective listening. In deep work, it's a commitment to the quality of your output.
And this attention defense leads directly to what you call the core principle of cognitive efficiency, the anti-multitasking rule. The source specifies, I avoid multitasking during busy hours, preferring to focus on one task when busy to minimize mistakes. Here's where it gets really interesting for me. Why is the active avoidance of multitasking a key habit for organization, especially when, our culture praises people for being able to juggle?
Because multitasking, as 99% of people practice it, is a complete myth.
A myth.
It is. It's simply rapid, inefficient, and highly draining task switching. Our brains are just not designed to process 2 complex streams of data at the same time. Every time you switch from, say, writing a report to answering a Slack message, your brain has to shut down the operating parameters for the first task and load up the parameters for the second.
And that switching has a cost.
A huge cost. This process leaves behind what neuroscientists call attention residue. Your focus is still partially stuck on the previous task. So when the hours are busy, meaning you're under time pressure, and the stakes are high task switching, is the fastest way to introduce errors, increase the time it takes to finish something, and drastically elevate your stress hormones.
Thus, a habit of single focus ensures quality control and, cognitive calm.
It's an organizational habit born out of self-preservation and the clear understanding that focused singularity beats scattered duality every single time.
Okay, so with our focus defended, the next steps in the blueprint address the necessary collaborative structure and the optimal timing of different types of work.
Yes, exactly. Now we get into structuring the flow of information.
It begins with synchronization. I join the daily team call at 10. This is that vital morning check-in to discuss plans, tasks, and updates. Why 10 a.m. specifically? Why not right at 9 a.m. when the day starts?
The timing is incredibly strategic because it respects that morning ritual phase we just talked about.
Right, gives you that first hour.
It does. If you start a mandatory call right at 9 a.m., you completely eliminate the time needed for the coffee ritual, for reviewing your notes, for that urgent communication triage. A 10 a.m. synchronization point assumes that the first hour has been dedicated to personal organization and tactical preparation.
So by 10 a.m., everyone is caffeinated, they know their objectives, and they've cleared the immediate email noise.
Exactly. The call can then focus entirely on strategic alignment. You discuss potential roadblocks, you make sure people aren't working at cross purposes. This brief, high-level morning sync prevents dozens of back-and-forth emails later and reduces organizational friction for the rest of the day.
And that initial organization allows for the strategic front-loading of complex work. The next habit, I usually finish reports before lunch. This strategy aims to complete important documents or summaries in the morning, freeing up the afternoon. Is this tied into our natural energy cycles?
It absolutely is. This is a perfect example of excellent energy management aligned with our biological clock. Most people, particularly those who identify as morning people, experience their peak cognitive performance in the late morning.
After the coffee, but before the lunch dip.
That's the prime window. Your best analytical and sustained attention capability is right there. And reports, complex documents, synthesizing data, that requires high analytical power. It's the definition of deep work. By front-loading these tasks, you ensure the highest quality output. You're maximizing your prime mental real estate.
And beyond that, I imagine there's a huge psychological relief. The heaviest lift of the day is done before noon.
Immense. The afternoon is then free for meetings, admin tasks, or less cognitively demanding work that isn't as affected by that inevitable post-lunch energy dip.
That focus on high-quality execution continues right into post-meeting behavior. I send out updates after each meeting. This is a vital communication habit to share decisions and next steps quickly with the team or the boss.
This habit is all about transforming discussion into tangible action items. It's about minimizing the half-life of decisions.
The half-life of decisions. I like that.
A meeting is inherently worthless if it doesn't result in clear decisions, assigned ownership, and then, subsequent action. By sending the update immediately, often within minutes of leaving the meeting, you capitalize on the high energy and the clarity of the discussion.
You solidify what was decided.
You solidify the decisions, you assign clear next steps, who does what by when, and you drastically reduce the opportunity for ambiguity. And ambiguity is the single biggest enemy of teamwork. It's the organizational equivalent of striking while the iron is hot. It just ensures that momentum is maintained.
And finally, in this section, we address the unavoidable organizational drag. I schedule time for admin tasks. This acknowledges that small, necessary tasks like filling out forms or reviewing expenses need dedicated planned time. Why not just squeeze them in between other tasks?
Because squeezing them in is just low-level, high-frequency context switching. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. Administrative work is the necessary friction of professional life, but you can't allow it to interrupt your high-focus periods. The key is to schedule it. This habit encourages batching.
Batching, so doing all the similar little things at once.
Exactly. Think of it as consolidating all those small, low-effort tasks. The forms, the expense reports, the minor filing into one specific limited window, maybe 30 minutes in the late afternoon. Batching minimizes the cost of that task switching. Instead of wasting 5 minutes switching context 10 times throughout the day, you absorb the cost of switching once, and then you just execute all 10 tasks seamlessly.
And that frees up your mental energy during the deep work periods when it really matters most.
That's the whole game.
Okay, we've established the cognitive discipline, but the blueprint recognizes a critical truth. The body is the battery for the mind. So now we pivot to the habits that ensure sustainable productivity, not just these short bursts of outpouring.
This shift is absolutely vital. You cannot maximize your output over the long term without conscious, deliberate attention to your physical maintenance. Ignoring your physical health is the fastest way to invite burnout and cognitive decline.
The blueprint offers 4 physical resets, starting with this one. I take short breaks to stay focused. This is a necessary countermeasure to prevent tiredness or loss of focus from long working periods. So how short is short, and how does it actually enhance focus?
We're talking about what's known as the ultradian rhythm. Research in productivity suggests that the human brain works best in cycles, typically about 90 to 120 minutes of intense focus, followed by a necessary 15 to 20-minute break.
So our brains aren't meant to just go for 8 hours straight.
Not at all. Short breaks, even just 5 minutes every hour, are a form of active recovery. They allow your cognitive resources, specifically your attention reserves, to replenish. This is not laziness.
No, it's strategic.
It's a strategic productivity multiplier. A highly focused 50-minute interval followed by a 5-minute break to stand up or look out the window is infinitely more productive than a distracted, tired 90-minute struggle where you're fighting mental friction the entire time. The break prevents that buildup of cognitive fatigue that leads to sloppy mistakes and reduced retention.
That concept is immediately followed by a more substantial movement break. I take a walk during lunch, getting fresh air, moving the body. But given all the pressure to maximize efficiency, shouldn't we just be eating at our desks?
Eating at your desk is one of the worst things you can do. It destroys 2 vital resources, your focus and your psychological separation from work.
Okay.
Taking a walk is a critical investment in your afternoon productivity. It provides a shift in your environment and your physiology, the combination of daylight exposure.
Which helps regulate our internal clocks.
Your circadian rhythms, exactly. That, plus movement and fresh air, is a powerful antidote to the sedentary nature of desk work. It aids digestion and, most importantly, provides a clean psychological break before you re-engage with your work. You return to your desk with a fresh perspective, having incubated whatever problem you were facing just before lunch. This simple act reduces stress and replenishes your capacity for afternoon focus.
And to combat the sheer duration of sitting, which we all know is detrimental to our long-term health, we have this micro reset. I stretch the legs every hour.
This is just a proactive measure against immobility. For you, the learner, who is often intensely engrossed in complex material, it's so easy to realize you haven't moved for 3 hours straight.
Oh yeah, you get in the zone and forget the world exists.
Right. The hourly stretch is a non-negotiable physical timer. It's a small, mandatory disruption that ensures you don't become so engrossed that you forget your physical well-being. It promotes blood flow, which in turn feeds the brain. The physical act of standing up or changing your posture breaks the pattern of long-term stillness, and it serves as a great reminder to hydrate, which is the next key habit.
Speaking of which, the final 2 habits in this section address practical health and fuel management. I drink water regularly to stay fresh, and I bring lunch from home most days.
Oh.
How does controlling fluid intake and lunch choices elevate professional organization?
They are fundamental inputs for optimal cognitive output. Let's start with hydration. Even mild dehydration, we're talking as little as a 1 or 2% body mass loss, can significantly impair your cognitive function.
Really? That little?
That little. It can slow your reaction times, degrade your memory, and increase your perception of fatigue. Treating water intake as a scheduled habit, not just something you do when you're thirsty, ensures consistent brain performance and focus, especially during long analytical hours.
Okay. And bringing lunch from home.
Bringing lunch from home solves a significant problem: decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue.
Every single decision we make throughout the day, from what shirt to wear to how to phrase an email, draws from the same limited reserve of cognitive energy. The decision about what to eat for lunch, especially when you're already hungry, is a surprisingly high-cost decision.
I've definitely spent 15 minutes just staring at a menu, totally paralyzed.
Exactly. You're burning precious mental energy. By preparing your lunch the night before or having a consistent routine of bringing food, you eliminate that expenditure. You protect your limited cognitive energy for high-value work. Plus, you get consistent, reliable fuel. You avoid the blood sugar spikes and energy crashes that are so often associated with rushed restaurant or fast food choices. It aligns your health, your financial, and your cognitive goals all at once. So as we enter the consolidation phase of the workday, what we're calling the end game, the philosophy shifts. It moves from maximizing output to ensuring that all the gains from the day are locked down and secured. The goal is a calm, structured close that eliminates the need for stress or rework the following morning.
Okay, and the first action is a necessary checkpoint in the mid-afternoon. I check progress in the afternoon. This means stopping to look at what's been accomplished and what remains. When is the ideal time for this, and what is its organizational value?
The ideal time is typically around 3.0 or 3.3 p.m. This is your mid-course correction point for the day. If you wait until 4.55 p.m. to assess your day, it's usually too late to recover or shift your priorities.
I think a panic sets in.
Exactly. The mid-afternoon check forces realism. It allows you to quickly assess, do I have enough time left to finish that major task, or do I need to proactively communicate a delay? This is an act of professional transparency and risk management. It prevents that end-of-day panic. If you realize you can't finish the major report, you can dedicate the remaining time to clearing all the small administrative tasks instead, thereby achieving a different kind of productivity goal for the day.
That's smart, and tied directly to that assessment is the critical documentation habit. I note down what was finished today, making a short list in a notebook or an app to keep track of progress. This seems a little redundant if you're already using project management software, no. What's the unique benefit of this personal documentation?
It serves a crucial dual function. It's organizational proof and it's psychological closure. Organizationally, it provides a clear, high-level record of your achievement that's instantly available for status updates, performance reviews, or just for reminding yourself of your contribution. But the psychological benefit is arguably even more important.
How so?
By physically ticking off or listing your completed items, you reinforce a sense of accomplishment. This actively prevents that pervasive feeling so common among knowledge workers that I was busy all day, but I achieved nothing tangible.
I know that feeling all too well.
We all do. And that feeling erodes motivation. Documenting your achievements provides an undeniable, concrete list of your wins, and that fuels your motivation for the next day.
And underpinning all of this is continuous organizational hygiene. I update the to-do list during the day, adding new tasks or marking completed ones to stay in control. If this is a living document, how often should it realistically be updated to avoid it becoming a distraction itself?
You have to treat your to-do list like a secondary brain, an external memory system that you fully 100% trust. Ideally, you update it the instant you receive a new task or complete an old one. This isn't a distraction, it's an immediate release of mental overhead.
So you're getting it out of your head and onto the page.
You're offloading it. When you capture a fleeting thought or a delegated task right away, you eliminate the background mental noise associated with trying to remember it later. If you trust your external list to remember for you, you free up valuable cognitive RAM, your immediate working memory, for the actual high-level analysis and problem-solving that your job requires. The habit of continuous, low-friction list maintenance ensures you stay in dynamic control.
Okay, so with the day's tasks accounted for, the focus shifts to creating a clean environment for the next start. This involves both the physical and the digital realm.
Yes, both are critical.
Let's start with the physical tidy-up. I organize my desk in the afternoon. Cleaning and arranging papers and items. Is a tidy space simply aesthetically pleasing, or does it have a measurable impact on tomorrow's performance?
It has a profound impact, and it's directly linked to reduced cognitive load.
Okay.
When you return to a cluttered desk in the morning, your brain is immediately forced to process the residual chaos of the day before. Unnecessary papers, stray coffee mugs, unrelated files. This sorting requires mental effort. It uses up your finite cognitive energy before you've even logged in.
So you're starting the day with a deficit.
You are. Organizing your desk in the afternoon is an intentional investment in tomorrow's focus. It provides a clean slate, both literally and figuratively. It ensures that when you sit down, your visual environment supports calm, focused thought rather than reminding you of yesterday's incomplete tasks.
Now for the digital hygiene, which is arguably even more critical today, the blueprint lists 3 very specific digital closing habits. First, the resilience habit. I save important documents to the cloud.
This is the organizational bedrock. This is the resilience habit that ensures business continuity. In our complex digital ecosystem, relying solely on local storage on your laptop is, frankly, organizational negligence.
That's a strong word.
It's true. Saving to the cloud ensures that regardless of a physical hardware failure, an accidental deletion, or some other localized issue, your work product is safe, it's backed up, and it's accessible from anywhere. For the learner, whose core value is accumulated knowledge, losing a document due to poor saving habits is catastrophic. This is the simplest form of high-stakes risk management applied daily.
Second, and highly relatable to anyone who works online, I clean up the desktop and close tabs, organizing the screen, putting files in folders so everything is ready for the next day. How is closing a web browser a productivity habit?
This targets what I call digital debt. Think about the psychological weight of a browser that's open with 25 or 30 tabs.
I'm looking at one right now.
We all are. Each one of those tabs represents an incomplete thought, an unresolved query, or a potential distraction. Even if you're not actively looking at them, those tabs drain your background mental energy. They signal unfinished business.
So cleaning up the desktop and closing tabs is a forced decision point.
It is. You have to ask, is this essential for tomorrow? If yes, I'll save it to a specific folder and close the tab. If no, I'll discard it. This critical decision-making ensures that you are only carrying necessary context forward, and it dramatically reduces that sense of digital overwhelm that plagues so many modern workers.
And finally, a very specific and formal closing. I shut down the computer properly. Explicitly saving work and shutting down, distinguishing this from just closing the lid or putting the computer to sleep. Is this just technical maintenance, or is there a psychological component here?
It's a profound psychological and technical sign-off. Closing the lid is convenient, sure, but it allows background processes and lingering notifications to potentially leak into your personal time. Shutting down properly is a formal punctuation mark on the workday.
The period at the end of the sentence.
It is. It forces that final confirmation that all your files are saved, and it provides a hard physical break. That action tells your brain definitively the work center is now closed. And that clarity prevents work residual from accidentally intruding on your recovery time, ensuring a higher quality mental separation and better rest.
Okay, so we've consolidated and secured today's work. The final sequence of habits ensures that tomorrow's start is not just smooth, but highly effective. It eliminates that dreaded cold start problem.
Yes, this is all about priming yourself for success tomorrow.
It starts with foresight. I usually check tomorrow's schedule before leaving, looking ahead at meetings, tasks, or reminders. Why is this more effective at 5 p.m. than at 8 a.m.?
Because at 5 p.m. you are still in professional mode, and the information you absorb has time to incubate overnight.
Incubate?
Yes. Checking the schedule at the end of the day eliminates morning anxiety. The cold start problem is often caused by walking into work blind, only to discover a critical early meeting or a major deliverable due that you haven't prepared for. By checking tonight, you preload the critical context. Your subconscious can actually process this information while you sleep, which means you walk into the office with an established plan, feeling proactive and in control, rather than reactive and rushed.
Even more proactively, the blueprint suggests, I prepare talking points for tomorrow's meeting, making a short list of ideas or updates to feel more ready and confident when speaking. This is fascinating. It's like planning the performance the day before.
That is the essence of cognitive priming. If you know you have to present updates or contribute substantially to a high-stakes discussion, writing down those 3 key bullet points utilizes the brain's incubation period.
So you're using your downtime effectively.
You are. The actual content is fresh in your mind from the preceding workday, which makes the preparation quick. Then, during the night, your brain organizes and solidifies that content, which often makes your delivery clearer, more articulate, and certainly more confident the next day. It substantially reduces the performance pressure and mental stress associated with important professional interactions. You've essentially done the heavy lifting while your analytical engine was already running hot.
And lastly, I had it focused entirely on collaboration. I update availability for the next week, informing the team or boss of your free time to assist with future planning.
This is a powerful yet so often overlooked organizational courtesy that dramatically reduces future administrative overhead. Scheduling conflicts are massive time sinks.
The endless email chain of what time works for you.
Exactly. Instead of forcing others to repeatedly negotiate meetings or interrupt your focus time with scheduling requests, you proactively provide the information necessary for the team to plan efficiently around you. This simple habit minimizes future interruptions, thereby protecting your deep work blocks for next week. It's a habit that pays dividends well beyond the day it's performed.
Okay, this final section defines the rules of engagement for a professional life that has to be sustainable. It's all about creating the necessary separation between work and personal life and ensuring continuous growth.
The hard stop is non-negotiable for recovery. Without effective recovery, the high level of output generated by the previous, 45 habits is just impossible to maintain long-term. The blueprint provides 3 sequential steps for a definitive end to the day.
First, the digital cutoff. I log out of my work apps at 5. This is a specific action at a certain time to help end the workday and take a break. Why the emphasis on logging out versus just, minimizing the screen?
Logging out is a decisive technical action that reinforces the psychological boundary. Minimizing the screen is a passive gesture. Logging out makes it technically and psychologically difficult to just slip back into work mode later in the evening.
It adds a layer of friction.
A critical layer of friction. It signals a definitive closure. Furthermore, it ensures that your phone or tablet won't buzz at 8 p.m. with a notification because you have formally disconnected the channel. This decisive boundary is critical to protecting your evening mental resources.
Then the social closes. I say goodbye to coworkers before leaving. A polite and friendly action, whether you're in the office or online. Why is this social ritual important for organization?
This habit humanizes the end of the workday and provides a necessary social cue for closure. Not just for you, but for the entire team. Whether as a physical farewell or a quick message on a remote chat platform, signing off for the day, see you all tomorrow, it acknowledges the collaboration and it sets an expectation for availability. It prevents assumptions about immediate access, reinforcing that digital boundary you just established by logging out of your apps.
And finally, consistency in the transition. I leave work around 5:30 every day, establishing a consistent routine time, and I usually take the same bus home, establishing a steady commute routine. What is the value of this structural consistency?
Consistency creates predictability, and predictability is the antithesis of stress. The combination of a fixed departure time and a steady commute routine establishes what psychologists call a liminal space.
Liminal space.
It's essentially a mental bridge. It's the buffer zone between your professional identity and your personal identity. The physical movement of the commute, especially a routine one like the same bus route, gives your brain a structured, predictable period to decompress. You are intentionally shifting your focus from work problems, the complex reports and communication issues, to your personal life and recovery. This physical and temporal separation is key to mental recovery and prevents the work mindset from leaking into your home life.
This brings us to the ultimate boundary, and probably the most challenging one to enforce in a globally connected world. I don't check work emails after 6. That's a firm line. But what about the reality of global teams or clients in different time zones? Isn't this habit a bit of a luxury for most modern workers?
It is a critical habit, but you raise a fair challenge. The source implicitly defines this not as a blanket refusal to engage with the world, but as a deliberate effort to separate work from personal time to ensure recovery.
So it's about the principle, not the specific time.
Exactly. For those working globally, the boundary has to shift, but the principle remains. You must define a window where you are non-contactable by work. If your job requires a 9 p.m. check-in for the Asian markets, then your actual recovery window must be strictly enforced from, say, 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
You still need that protected time.
But for the vast majority of workers, the rule is non-negotiable. Checking emails late at night reintroduces stress, it stimulates your mind with problems you cannot solve until the morning, and it effectively eliminates the necessary recovery period. If sustainable productivity is the goal, disconnecting entirely for a significant period is mandatory. Checking an email at 9 p.m. gives your mind a problem to chew on all night, degrading the quality of your sleep and your clarity the next morning. This habit is the final defense against work creep. It preserves your mental capital.
That focus on sustainable energy and continuous learning really reinforces the learner's mindset. And that's why the final habit listed is so important. I join training sessions every Thursday, attending a class or workshop to learn new things for your job or for personal growth.
This is the long-term investment that completes the entire blueprint. If all 50 habits were purely focused on efficiency, on just maximizing the output of your existing skills, the learner would become a highly optimized task completion machine, but ultimately they become stagnant.
Right. You'd just be doing the same thing faster.
Precisely. Scheduling continuous learning, like a dedicated training session, ensures that the optimal workday is also an improving workday. You are investing in future knowledge, future skills, and future efficiency. It guarantees that time is deliberately set aside, not just for doing, but for growing, for synthesizing new knowledge, and for applying it. It's the difference between operating efficiently and operating at a continuously increasing level of competence. By placing this habit at the end, the blueprint reminds us that efficiency is merely the foundation for growth.
We've also found other small habits scattered throughout the sources that really reinforce this theme of discipline, such as I try to stay off social media at work, and the one we mentioned before, I mute my phone during focus time. All 50 points seem to point back to the same cohesive philosophy.
They do. It's all about control. Control over your environment, control over your time, and control over your energy. The avoidance of social media is just another form of attention defense. It's recognizing that the instant gratification loop is a direct competitor to deep, valuable work. If we look back at the entire 50-point blueprint, the structured start, the email triage, the deep work blocks, the movement breaks, the digital cleanup, the structured log off, it combines into a single cohesive system designed to maximize intentionality and minimize reactive behavior. It's a complete architecture for professional self-mastery.
So we started this deep dive seeing what looked like a simple list of 50 phrases from a language lesson. We've ended with a comprehensive 4-part strategy for professional self-management. What does this all mean for you, the listener? It means that the highest levels of productivity and knowledge retention, they are not innate qualities. They are built entirely on small, repeatable, conscious decisions, consistently applied from the moment you log in to the moment you decisively log out.
And for you, the learner, the value here is in the structured clarity this provides. This blueprint replaces the anxiety of information overload and the chaos in an unstructured day with deliberate, time-bound, and energy-aware action. It provides the methodology for how to organize the time and the energy necessary to absorb and apply new knowledge effectively, ensuring sustained focus and growth.
We dedicate a lot of time to Section 3, the end game, highlighting the importance of closing the day properly, saving documents, cleaning the desk, preparing for the next morning. If the goal is seamless continuity and completely eliminating that cold start problem, which specific action mentioned in our wrap-up, besides the mandatory action of logging out of apps, gives you the most control over tomorrow.
It has to be the cognitive preparation step. It's a 2-parter. Checking tomorrow's schedule and preparing the talking points for tomorrow's meeting. Checking the schedule provides the strategic map. It ensures you know where you need to be. But preparing the talking points, that provides the mental ammunition. It utilizes the brain's overnight incubation period to ensure that your first high-stakes interaction the next morning is performed with confidence, with clarity, and with competence.
So that small moment of focused preparation buys you huge returns in performance and confidence the moment you clock in.
It's the ultimate leverage point for starting your day strong.
A perfect insight to close on. That intentionality is the secret ingredient. Thank you for diving deep with us. We'll catch you next time. If you have ever tried to hold a fast-paced conversation in English, you probably know that feeling.
Oh, yeah.
That moment of just pure panic. You're trying to build the perfect sentence, word by word, grammar rule by grammar rule. And the native speaker you're talking to has already moved on. They're on the next topic, and you're still back there translating in your head.
It's that cognitive overload, right? That's the wall that every serious English learner hits at some point. There's this belief that fluency means you have to master this complex syntax for every single interaction.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just exhausting. It's slow, and frankly, it often just freezes you up. You miss the chance to say anything at all.
Exactly. And that right there is the whole point of this deep dive. We are cracking the code on fluency by revealing what is basically a linguistic life hack.
A shortcut.
A total shortcut. Ready-made sentences and phrases. And these aren't just, vocabulary words you memorize. They're linguistic packages. They're pre-made responses that native speakers use instantly to express really common intentions.
Things like surprise or an apology or, setting a boundary.
Right.
And you hear these sentences everywhere. I mean, they're in professional emails, they're in the casual chat you have at the coffee shop, even in the dialogue in your favorite TV show. They are sort of the linguistic glue that holds daily life together.
Yeah, they really are.
So our mission today is to synthesize, 25 of these essential, simple, but really powerful sentences. And we're going to dig deep into why they're used.
That's the key part, the why.
The why, yeah. The subtle social job they're doing and how using them can immediately shift you from feeling like a translator to feeling like a confident person in a conversation.
Knowing these phrases, it just means you stop trying to build a bridge between two languages every time you open your mouth. Instead, you pull a tool from your toolkit and your speaking gets smoother, it gets faster, and crucially, it just sounds a lot more natural. You sound like you belong in the conversation, not like you're fighting to keep up.
And they are, as you said, shortcuts to expressing really complex social maneuvers. I mean, why try to grammatically construct an apology for a delay when there's a perfect accepted phrase that signals the exact same thing but with more warmth.
Totally. Let's do it.
Let's unpack this. We can start with the inner workings of the mind, how we talk about memory and recognition and those sudden thoughts that just appear.
Okay, so the mental processing unit, I like that. These are phrases that help us explain what's happening inside our own brains, which, I mean, that's essential for being relatable to other people.
It is.
So our first sentence, it addresses that really frustrating moment when something is, right on the tip of your tongue. The phrase is, that sounds familiar.
Ugh. This is one of the most socially useful phrases out there. It really is. Because it's a very low-stakes way to communicate that you have, partial knowledge.
Right, not zero knowledge.
Not zero. When you say, that sounds familiar, you're acknowledging that the information exists somewhere in your memory's database, but you're signaling that right now the details are just out of reach. It's kind of like you're going fishing for more information.
And it sets the stage perfectly for the other person to help you out, but without making you feel, inadequate or stupid.
Exactly.
So imagine you're at a networking event or something, and someone mentions the Xena project.
Okay.
And you worked on something with a similar name a few years ago, but you just can't remember the details. If you just say, I don't know what that is, well, you just close the door on that conversation.
It's a dead end.
It's a total dead end.
Yeah.
But if you say the Xena project, that sounds familiar, you're inviting them to tell you more.
Yes, you're giving them a hook. And the nuance here is really important. You'd use this for things that are, conceptually known or something you've heard before. A name, a piece of music, a story.
Like a song title on the radio.
A song title, perfect example. Or if someone asks, hey, have you seen that new documentary about the deep sea? And you answer, that sounds familiar. Is it the one funded by the National Geographic team? See, you're confirming the general category, but you're asking for a specific detail to lock it in.
I think it's just so much more graceful than saying, wait, what was that again?
Mm-hmm.
Because it validates what the other person just said.
Mm-hmm.
It tells them, you haven't wasted your breath. My brain is working on it. It's an act of conversational respect, really.
It absolutely is. And think about a professional context. Your manager references, a policy change from last quarter.
Okay.
And maybe you missed that meeting. You can't afford to just look completely blank. So you say, that sounds familiar, but I'd appreciate a quick recap on the implementation timeline. And what that does is it subtly asks for the information you need, but it also shows you understand that the topic is relevant.
Right. You're still in the loop. You just need a refresher.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's move from partial recognition to the exact opposite. Total absence. The second phrase is the, I think, universally accepted apology for forgetting something. It slipped my mind.
This is an absolute must-know. Linguistically, that metaphor of something slipping is so important.
Why is that?
It implies that the memory was secure, but because of outside factors, being busy, stress, just human error, it accidentally escaped your mental grasp. It's a much gentler admission than just the blunt, I forgot.
It sounds a little bit like an accusation of yourself, like, I failed to remember. But it slipped my mind, makes it sound like this involuntary malfunction.
Exactly.
Which is much more, palatable in social settings. If you're meeting a friend for coffee and you were supposed to bring a book, you promise them, and you show up empty-handed.
The apology is just softer. It's softer. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I left your book on the kitchen counter. It completely slipped my mind this morning.
Right.
If you were just to say, I forgot your book, it almost sounds like you didn't care enough to remember it in the first place.
That nuance is absolutely key. And in a workplace setting, let's say you were supposed to submit some minor report by the end of the day, and you realize you missed the deadline at 5:05 p.m.
The worst feeling.
The worst.
Yeah.
So you go to your manager and you say, my apologies for the delay on a monthly update. It was right there on my to-do list. But with that sudden client meeting, it completely slipped my mind. I'll send it over right now.
And see what you did there? It communicates the mistake, but it also provides the implicit context that you were overwhelmed, not that you're incompetent.
Exactly.
And that leads us perfectly to the phrase you use when your mind suddenly, overperforms. Number 3, it just popped into my head.
This one describes a truly unexpected, sort of unbidden thought, a memory or a question that just arrives suddenly, out of nowhere. It's completely unprompted by the current conversation.
It is the ultimate social lubricant for an interruption.
A lubricant for interruption. I like that.
Our brains don't work sequentially, right?
Yeah.
We have all this stuff happening at once. We might be discussing dinner plans, and then suddenly you remember you need to renew your driver's license.
Right.
If you just interrupt and say, stop, I need to do something, that's really jarring. But if you frame it, if you say, sorry to interrupt, but I just remembered something, just popped in my head that my license expires next week.
You've explained the interruption. You've contextualized it as this unavoidable mental event, so you've given yourself permission to change the topic for a second.
Right.
I remember a time a colleague and I were deep in a project review, and she suddenly just stopped and said, wait, that reminds me of something completely different that just popped into my head. We should use that color palette for the new marketing campaign.
That's a brilliant example because it shows it can be used for creative input too.
Oh, yeah.
It's often used to justify an abstract connection that maybe isn't obvious to the other person. Why did you suddenly mention that old high school teacher?
Right. Where did that come from?
Honestly, I have no idea why. His name just popped into my head while we were talking about deadlines. It makes your own thought process visible and, forgivable.
Okay, let's step outside the mind for a bit and look at the external world of commitments and deadlines and information. This section is so essential for sounding reliable, both at work and, in your personal life.
Absolutely.
We're going to start with a phrase of integrity. Let me double check and get back to you.
This is a golden phrase. I really believe that. Because it directly contradicts the pressure we all feel to know everything instantly.
Mm-hmm.
It signals maturity, it signals professionalism, and most importantly, a preference for accuracy over speed. You use it when you're not sure about something, but you commit to providing verified information later on.
It's really two promises wrapped up in one single sentence.
It is.
First, you have the promise of verification, let me double check. And then second, you have the promise of follow-up and get back to you. So you're not guessing, and you're not leaving the person just hanging there.
And this is so useful in a high-stakes situation like a job interview. If you're asked some incredibly niche technical question that you might not have the precise data for, the worst thing you can do is just make something up.
Right, don't guess.
Don't guess. The polished, the professional response is, that's a great question regarding the specific throughput capacity. I'd hate to give you an estimate off the top of my head, so let me double check those recent benchmark reports and get back to you with the exact number later this afternoon.
See, that turns uncertainty into diligence.
Yeah.
You actually look more competent.
You do? It's impressive.
And it's equally useful in simple, everyday exchanges. Your friend asks, hey, what time does the movie start? Is it 7 p.m.? If you are absolutely sure, you say.
I think it's 7, but let me double check the ticket and get back to you just to be certain.
Right. And that saves everyone potential time and frustration. It's an essential phrase for modern life where, accuracy really is prized.
So what happens when you commit to a time, but then, reality interferes?
Life happens.
Life happens. Our next phrase handles those unavoidable delays. I'm running a bit behind.
This phrase is the standard.
Yeah.
It's polite. It's universally understood. It's how you announce that you were going to be late, whether it's for an appointment, a deadline, or a meeting. It manages expectations immediately.
And the word running is crucial here, as you mentioned earlier. It implies motion and effort. You are not just, languishing in your delay. You are actively trying to minimize the lateness. And when you use this phrase, the social contract demands you give a follow-up ETA.
An estimated time of arrival. Yes, that is a key point on the social contract. You can't just say, I'm running a bit behind, and then vanish.
Right, that's rude.
You need to supply the new timeline. If you're stuck in unexpected traffic, I'm so sorry, I'm running a bit behind due to an accident on the highway. I should be there in about 15 minutes. That specificity gives the other person the ability to plan around your delay.
And professionally, it's all about deadline management. If a complex data analysis task is taking longer than you budgeted, you update your team proactively.
Right, before they have to ask you.
Before they ask. Just giving you a quick heads up, I'm running a bit behind on the Q3 analysis due to some tricky database issues, but I've isolated the problem, and I'll have the final figures to you by 3 p.m. It's a mechanism for proactive, non-excuse-making communication.
This is so fundamentally different from just announcing, I am late for the meeting.
It is.
I am late sounds so passive, but I am running a bit behind sounds active and responsible and like you're already moving toward a correction.
Absolutely. And speaking of things that get delayed, let's look at intentions that get lost in the shuffle of life. Our next phrase is a wonderful piece of relational maintenance. I've been meaning to call you.
Oh, this is all about delayed intention. It's an apology, really, but it's an apology that's couched in this genuine statement that you wanted to connect.
Yes.
That you've been carrying the thought of contacting the person for some time.
It softens the silence. I mean, in our busy, hyper-connected world, if you haven't spoken to an old friend in 6 months, running into them can be really awkward.
So awkward.
But by immediately saying, oh, it's so good to see you, I've been meaning to call you, but work has been just crazy lately, you instantly reestablish that the relationship is important to you.
It's a way of saying you matter to me, and I actually felt bad about the time that passed. It turns that awkward silence into a shared understanding of how busy life gets for everyone. And it's often followed by a quick justification, right? Like, I just kept forgetting my phone when I had a free moment, or the kids have been sick.
Yeah, and it serves a professional purpose too, often in email follow-ups. If you promise to follow up on a project idea with a colleague, but weeks have passed, you can start the email like this. Dear Sarah, sorry for the delay. I've been meaning to send this to you about Project Delta. The initial concept is attached.
It mitigates the perceived neglect.
Exactly. The focus stays on the good intention, not the poor execution. And this maintains what we call relational goodwill. It keeps the relationship healthy.
Okay, moving into the realm of emotional and retrospective processing. So how do we verbally handle events that surprise us, either in a bad way or a good way? Our first phrase here is the sigh of resignation. It's the sound of hindsight hitting you square in the face. I should have seen that coming.
This phrase is used after a negative outcome when you realize all the warning signs were there, but you either missed them or you ignored them or you just failed to act on them. It's an expression of sort of retrospective self-correction or sometimes just gentle self-deprecation.
It's that moment of recognition that a failure was actually predictable. If you lent money to a friend who you know is terrible with finances and then they fail to pay you back, you don't necessarily blame them out loud, but you might think or say to a third party, ugh, I should have seen that coming.
The pattern was already established. We used this when the evidence was kind of structural. If a new business venture fails because the market research was clearly flawed from the very beginning, the postmortem analysis concludes, given the shaky market research, honestly, we should have seen that coming.
It acknowledges a predictable risk.
Yes, and it's a way to process disappointment by grounding it in logic instead of just, bad luck.
What I love about this phrase is that it closes the book on the surprise element. It says, okay, that wasn't random, that was entirely logical. It helps people accept failure faster, I think.
And this naturally transitions to true surprise, right? Something that genuinely blindsides you, often with a negative consequence on your ability to perform. Number 8, it caught me off guard.
This means you were completely unprepared for the event, whether that's mentally, emotionally, or just logistically. The surprise was so sudden that it genuinely interfered with your ability to respond effectively in that moment.
This is a crucial distinction from simple surprise. Being caught off guard implies a state of vulnerability. A sudden, tough question in a high-pressure meeting might catch you off guard.
Right.
And it causes you to momentarily freeze or maybe give a less than optimal answer. It sort of excuses that momentary failure to perform.
I remember once I was pulled into an unscheduled, closed-door meeting with 3 senior executives. And I knew the general topic, but the sudden, severity of their tone caught me completely off guard. I literally couldn't formulate my thoughts clearly for the first 5 minutes. That's the perfect time to use this phrase. Later you can say, sorry, that really caught me off guard.
And conversely, it can be positive, but still overwhelming. Imagine your spouse throws you a massive surprise birthday party. While it's joyful, the sheer shock might make you cry or be speechless.
Oh, for sure.
So you explain later, I am so happy, but it truly caught me off guard. I had absolutely no idea you were planning this.
Okay, so if it caught me off guard, implies that it interfered with your performance. The next phrase is the pure, unfiltered expression of shock. I wasn't expecting that.
This is the most versatile phrase for expressing genuine surprise. It works whether the event is good, bad, or just plain unusual. It's direct, it's simple, and it requires no metaphor.
It's the immediate, almost involuntary verbal reaction. You see a hot air balloon floating over the city, or your colleague suddenly shaves his beard after 20 years.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that.
Exactly. Or if you're offered a substantial unearned bonus at work, oh my goodness, thank you so much. I truly wasn't expecting that.
It's the go-to response because it is socially neutral. It doesn't commit you to a specific emotional reaction. Caught off guard implies you were unprepared. This just verifies the unexpected nature of the event.
Right.
If the weather forecast calls for sun all day and it suddenly starts to snow in October, that's the perfect time for, well, I certainly wasn't expecting that.
We've talked about surprise and regret. Let's look at acceptance. Our final phrase in this section deals with acquiescence. I just went with it.
This is the past tense justification for choosing harmony over your own personal preference. It means you accepted a situation or an idea or a plan without resisting, even if you aren't fully enthusiastic about it. It signals cooperation.
It's the phrase that saves you from all sorts of petty conflicts. Think of that scenario where you and your friends are deciding where to eat. You really wanted Italian, but 3 of your friends desperately wanted Mexican.
A classic dilemma.
You could argue, but instead you just sigh and later you tell someone, fine, Mexican it is. I just went with it to keep everyone happy.
And the function here is crucial. It justifies the choice after the fact without assigning any blame. It shows you prioritize the group dynamic. In a team meeting, perhaps a majority votes for a strategy you have doubts about. You don't fight it, you adopt it. Later, when someone asks why you agreed to the plan, you can state, I saw the writing on the wall, everyone else was on board, so I just went with it. It closes the discussion cleanly.
It's almost like a diplomatic surrender. You're signaling, my preference wasn't strong enough to wage a full-on conflict, so I chose peace. It makes you look like a team player, even if you secretly wish you were eating pasta.
Exactly.
Let's pivot now to what is arguably the most vital section for modern life, the language of boundaries, stress, and workload management.
So important.
We have 6 really powerful ready-made sentences here that allow you to communicate that you are overwhelmed without completely shutting down the conversation. Starting with the cognitive need for a rest. I need to clear my head.
This phrase is a necessity in any high-stress environment. It is a direct and justified request for a temporary break, and it's driven by the realization that your current mental strain is preventing you from thinking effectively.
Right.
It's an active step toward regaining cognitive clarity.
If you've been staring at a dense spreadsheet, trying to find one tiny mistake for 2 hours, you hit a point where your brain is actually making the problem worse.
Oh, I know that feeling. Your eyes just blur.
That's when you stand up and you announce, I've been staring at this long enough. I need to clear my head. I'm going to grab a coffee and just walk around the block. The key is that the action you're taking is explicitly linked to the goal of clearing your head.
It communicates to others that the break is restorative, not evasive. It's just professional self-management. If a team is stuck in a complicated brainstorming session, someone can suggest, look, we are just running in circles here. Let's all agree we need to clear our heads for 10 minutes and come back with some fresh perspectives.
So if clearing your head is a preventative measure, the next phrase is the response to having already reached total exhaustion. I could really use a break.
This is a stronger declaration. It moves beyond just needing clarity to needing genuine physical or mental rest because you are tired or overwhelmed. The inclusion of the word really emphasizes the urgency of that need.
It suggests depletion. You've been studying nonstop for an exam, or working late on a project, or maybe dealing with a complex family crisis. If your friend asks you to join them for, I don't know, a vigorous activity.
Go for a 5-mile run.
Exactly. You respond, I really appreciate the invitation, but I've been on my feet for 12 hours straight. I could really use a break and just sit down.
In a group scenario, if you've been presenting or facilitating a discussion for a long time and you feel the energy dipping in the room, you can use this phrase to initiate a necessary recess for everyone.
Oh, that's a good one.
Wow. That was a lot of information. I could really use a break. Why don't we all reconvene in 5 minutes? It legitimizes the need for that collective recovery time.
Okay, now for the champion of social shorthand. When you are too tired to even explain why you're tired, you use this one. It's been one of those days.
This is such a beautiful piece of idiomatic communication. It's a complete narrative encapsulated in just 5 words.
It is.
It conveys a day that was filled with cumulative, frustrating, small problems. The car wouldn't start, the coffee spilled, the meeting is canceled, the internet went down, all without having to list a single one of them.
And the social function is flawless. The listener automatically understands and provides sympathy without requiring any details. If you arrive home looking utterly defeated and your partner asks how your day was, you just slump into a chair and say, oof, don't ask. It's been one of those days.
And the expected response is empathy, right? Not a bunch of probing questions.
Exactly.
It's basically a social permission slip to be grumpy. What's important is the listener knows immediately that your current mood is due to external circumstances, not due to them.
Yes, that's so important.
It diffuses potential conflict over a bad mood. If a colleague is a bit short with you and you ask what's wrong, they might reply, sorry about that, it's just been one of those days. and you accept the apology instantly, no more questions asked.
That sets up our boundary phrases perfectly. The next one is about managing low motivation. I'm not feeling it today.
This is a soft, casual way to decline an invitation or postpone a task based purely on your current energy or mental state. It avoids the need for a complex excuse like, I'm sick or I have another obligation.
Right, you don't have to lie.
You don't have to lie. It's an honest, low-commitment refusal. It's crucial because it protects your personal capacity. If a friend suggests going out dancing and you just feel like staying home, you can reply, thanks, but I'm just not feeling it today. Maybe tomorrow. It allows you to prioritize rest without offending the other person.
And it's a powerful tool in a creative or task-based environment, too. Sometimes you have a task like writing or analysis, something that requires heavy thinking, and it requires a focus you simply don't have on that day. You can tell your coworker, I need to tackle this complicated report, but honestly, I'm just not feeling it today. I'll start fresh first thing in the morning.
And that establishes a healthy, self-aware boundary, and it prevents you from doing poorly executed work just for the sake of it.
So if that's a casual refusal, the next phrase is the professional refusal that signals maximum busyness.
I've got a lot on my plate right now.
This is the definitive metaphor for being oversubscribed. A lot on my plate means you have many tasks, responsibilities, or problems that are demanding your immediate, prioritized attention. It is the polite way to decline taking on more work.
It's excellent professional capacity management. If your manager asks you to spearhead a new, time-consuming initiative, you can use this phrase to negotiate or decline without sounding lazy.
Right.
I appreciate you thinking of me for the new marketing strategy, but I've got a lot on my plate right now, finalizing the Q4 budgets. Perhaps if we revisit this in 2 weeks, I can give it the attention it deserves.
And notice how that phrase explains your unavailability by referencing your current responsibilities. It justifies the boundary. It's not just I can't. It's I can't because A, B, and C are currently consuming all of my time. It provides real context.
It does. If a friend asks for a significant favor, like helping them move furniture, I really wish I could help, but with work and family stuff, I've got a lot on my plate right now. I just can't squeeze it in.
And finally, in this category of mental stress, we have the phrase that introduces a persistent, but maybe minor, irritant. That's been bothering me all day.
This is used when a single issue, or a thought, or even a noise has persisted throughout the day, distracting or annoying you. It's the verbal way to start a discussion about a low-level, continuous drain on your mental resources.
It gives you permission to introduce what might seem like a small issue to someone else. For example, the sources mention a computer making a weird noise. You might finally turn to a colleague and say, that rhythmic clicking sound, that's been bothering me all day. We need to call IT.
Or it can be something relational. Maybe a comment someone made in the morning meeting seemed slightly critical, and you've just been replaying it in your mind over and over. If a colleague asks why you seem distracted, you might confess, honestly, it's something Jim said in the 9 a.m. meeting. It just keeps looping in my head. That's been bothering me all day.
Yeah.
It's a mechanism for initiating a resolution for those minor stress points.
Okay, let's move from managing internal stress to managing external challenges, making decisions, resolving complexity, and navigating social groups. We'll start with the acknowledgement of difficulty. I'm trying to figure it out.
This phrase places you firmly in a state of active intellectual engagement with a complicated issue. You're not saying, I don't know, which is passive.
Right. I don't know is a full stop.
It is. You are saying, I am currently processing and solving this. It's a declaration of effort.
It's the perfect response when you're grappling with new information. If you've just been handed a complex technical manual or a new company policy and someone asks for your immediate opinion, you need to manage that expectation. You can say, I haven't quite grasped the full implications of the new security protocols yet. I'm trying to figure it out right now.
And this is particularly useful when the confusion comes from external factors, like trying to understand a complicated billing statement or deciphering a really unusual set of instructions. You're showing commitment to resolving it.
Right.
It also applies to emotional complexity. Why did she suddenly quit the team? I'm still trying to figure it out. Her motives just don't make any sense.
Speaking of complex decisions, our next phrase perfectly captures the paralysis of choice. I keep going back and forth.
This means you are stuck in oscillation. You are constantly changing your mind between 2 or sometimes 3 equally compelling or, difficult options. You are unable to achieve what we'd call decisional equilibrium.
This applies to everything from selecting a paint color for your kitchen.
Oh, the worst.
Should I go with the sage green or the light gray? I keep going back and forth, all the way up to massive life changes. I mean, you might be faced with job decisions. I've had 2 excellent job offers, and I've made 3 pros and cons lists this week. I keep going back and forth on which company culture is better fit.
It explains indecision. When a planning process at work stalls, the team's explanation might be, we spend an hour going back and forth between postponing the launch and just keeping the current deadline. It highlights the difficult nature of the choice, and it justifies the time spent arguing. It's an acknowledgement that the decision isn't easy.
Now, our next phrase is arguably one of the most valuable phrases for critical thinking and for conflict de-escalation. Let's not jump to conclusions.
This is the voice of caution. It's the voice of reflection. It advises against making a premature judgment or a decision based on incomplete information or just your initial emotional reaction. It's an appeal to logic and to patience.
This phrase is a societal necessity, I think. If you hear a shocking piece of gossip or you see just a fragment of a confusing event, our natural tendency is to fill in the blanks, and usually we fill them in negatively.
We do. We assume the worst.
We do. But this phrase serves as the check. Did you hear that Mark was fired? Whoa, wait a minute. Let's not jump to conclusions. Maybe he just transferred to a different department. Let's wait until we hear the official announcement.
It prevents the cascading effect of a rumor, and it ensures, due process. When you're dealing with difficult interpersonal situations, if someone seems angry or sad, the supportive response is, he seemed very upset, but let's not jump to conclusions about why. Maybe he just had a terrible morning. We need to get the facts first.
It emphasizes the importance of evidence over assumption.
It really does.
Finally, in this social interaction category, we have the phrase that ensures polite social inclusion. Do you mind if I join you?
This is the definitive, polite way to ask for entry into a current conversation or an activity or just a seating arrangement. And the phrase, structure, do you mind if, is key, because it puts the comfort level of the other person first. It shows respect for their boundaries and their space.
It's the appropriate way to approach a group. If you walk into a cafeteria and you see your colleagues talking, instead of just pulling up a chair and leaning in,
Which is so awkward.
so awkward,
Yeah.
you approach and ask, hey, what do you guys talk about? Do you mind if I join you? It's a formality that just goes a long way.
And if a friend is quietly reading a book at a table, you respect their current focus. I see you're deep in that novel. I don't want to distract you, but I'm working on my laptop here. Do you mind if I join you at this table? If they say yes, you've gained entry without disrupting their primary activity. It is a sign of emotional intelligence in social dynamics.
We've arrived at our final set of ready-made phrases, and these are all focused on social grace. How to say no politely, how to minimize trouble, and how to offer essential reassurance. We're starting with the diplomatic refusal. That's not really my thing.
This is the perfect, non-confrontational way to decline a suggested activity or hobby. It states a personal preference. It's not my thing. Rather than making a judgment about the activity itself, you're not saying that activity is bad.
Right. It's the language of gentle self-protection. If a colleague is obsessed with a niche, competitive video game and invites you to join, and you'd rather do almost anything else, you can reply, thanks for the invite, but that's not really my thing. I prefer tabletop games. It maintains the goodwill between you while setting a firm boundary.
And it allows for respectful difference. It's applicable to food, sports, music, travel styles, anything. If someone suggests a high-adventure vacation involving skydiving and bungee jumping, you might say, sounds thrilling, but heights are not really my thing. I'm more of a museum and quiet beach kind of traveler.
You're defining yourself without criticizing their choice.
Exactly.
Next up, we have the phrase that justifies giving up. It's not worth the hassle.
This is the conclusion of a cost-benefit analysis, where the cost, the effort, the trouble, the time, or the annoyance outweighs the perceived reward. It's all about practicality and efficiency.
This is often used when you're thinking about returning an item to a store. You buy a shirt, you realize it's the wrong size, but returning it requires a 45-minute drive and then standing in a long line.
It's all worst.
You conclude, you know what? For a $20 shirt, it's not worth the hassle. I'll just donate it.
It provides the logical justification for abandoning a frustrating task. If an old appliance is constantly breaking and requires expensive, complex repairs every month, the consensus in the house becomes, we've fixed the washer 3 times this year. It's time to let it go. It's just not worth the hassle anymore. Let's just buy a new one.
It signals that you value your time and energy more than the minor saving.
Precisely.
Moving on to reassurance. which is so vital when minor mistakes happen. The first phrase is, "It's nothing serious."
This is used to quickly minimize a problem or an incident or an unexpected noise. It assures the listener that the situation is minor, unimportant, or not dangerous. It's an immediate anxiety reducer.
Imagine you trip and fall dramatically, making a loud noise, but you're completely fine. The immediate concern from everyone nearby will be high.
Oh yeah, everyone rushes over.
And you quickly have to reassure them, "I'm fine, just clumsy, it's nothing serious." It prevents the situation from escalating into a whole big crisis.
And it's also used to minimize actual but minor physical issues. If you show up to work with a small bandage on your hand and a colleague asks what happened, you can say, "Oh, I just cut myself chopping vegetables this morning. It's nothing serious, just needs a plaster." It just shuts down any unnecessary concern.
Very close in function is our next reassurance phrase, and this one's often used in response to apologies. It's no big deal.
This is a highly common, very casual way to minimize a mistake or a perceived inconvenience. It signals that the issue caused no major trouble or was very easy to fix.
This is your go-to response when someone apologizes for something small, like forgetting to send a text, bumping into you lightly, or being slightly delayed. If a friend spills a small amount of coffee and is profusely apologizing,
Mortifying.
you immediately respond, "Seriously, it's no big deal. Grab a napkin. It happens all the time." It's a very fast social reset button.
And it keeps the conversation flowing by dismissing the need for extended guilt or a long apology. If a colleague makes a minor formatting error on a report you're editing, instead of scolding them, you fix it quickly and you say, "I noticed a small typo, but it's no big deal. I already fixed it."
And finally, the ultimate all-encompassing phrase for worry and guilt management: don't worry about it.
This is the universal phrase. You use it to tell someone to eliminate their concern, their stress, or their sense of guilt regarding a particular matter. It's the most direct way to provide comfort and relief.
It is used in response to profuse thanks or to intense guilt. If you go far out of your way to help a friend move house and they thank you 5 times,
Still thanking you a week later.
you stop the loop by saying, "It was my pleasure. Honestly, don't worry about it." It confirms the favor was given freely and without any expectation of future reciprocity or thanks.
And it's a crucial management tool for minor errors.
Yeah.
If a junior team member makes a small but embarrassing mistake and they are clearly stressed about it, the manager's role is to minimize that trauma. "I know you messed up the slide deck, but we fixed it quickly. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Just learn from it for next time." It immediately transitions them from guilt to a forward-looking focus. Hashtag outro people.
So we have just concluded our deep dive into these 25 sentences, and we've covered everything from managing forgotten memories, it slipped my mind, to gracefully navigating social requests. Do you mind if I join you?
And if you look at the breadth of topics we covered, memory, time management, social boundaries, diplomacy, reaction, you start to realize these aren't just isolated words.
No.
They form the essential framework of conversational English. They are the linguistic autopilot that frees your brain from that continuous, stressful translation work.
So this is your action plan. Don't learn these as concepts. Learn them as single unbreakable units of sound and meaning. Commit the entire sentence to your memory. So when a situation arises where you need to politely delay a response, the entire sentence, "Let me double check and get back to you," should fire instantly without you having to assemble it.
And that takes us back to the final, powerful insight, the meta lesson that underpins true fluency. If you feel like your speaking is slow, it's probably because you're trying to construct sentences for predictable social functions using complex grammar.
Right. Building from scratch every time.
Every single time. The moment you realize that there is a ready-made phrase for virtually every predictable social need, apologizing, setting boundaries, expressing disbelief, showing cooperation,
The list goes on.
you can stop spending all that cognitive bandwidth on grammar and instead focus on the novel, specific content of the conversation. You can focus on what you actually want to say.
True conversational confidence comes not from knowing 10,000 obscure words, but from mastering the 25 or 50 set phrases that allow you to seamlessly participate in the flow of daily life.
And by deploying these phrases, you not only speak more naturally, but you communicate that you understand the implicit social rules of the exchange. That realization is the final, fundamental key to unlocking rapid, smooth, and authentic English fluency. So start using these shortcuts today and just watch how much your conversation velocity increases.